Why would you do that? It's so expensive. The PS5 Pro console, right? As of right now, it is $699 and it's now available for pre-order. Pre-order at $699, and then it also has a collector's edition that comes with the extra controller, and that guy is $999. We're not talking about that because that's crazy expensive. So let's just go with the $699 version. What do you get for that, right? So if we're looking here and we scroll down and we take a look, the PS5 Pro, okay, it comes with 2 terabytes of storage. The original PS5 has 1 terabyte of storage. Okay, cool. That's an upgrade. Now it says play at 60 frames per second or up to 120 frames per second with 4K output and which is ray tracing. So this one is a little bit iffy, but in some games, yes, you can definitely achieve that. PS5 Pro gaming boost and backwards compatibility. We know that. Enhanced image quality for PS4 games. That's cool. 1440p HDMI video output. Now it's just saying stuff that the PS5 normally could do. Okay, so those are pretty much the basics. So basically it is a higher quality PS5. So if we look here, and I know a lot of people have seen this, but I want to go over it a little bit. We won't continue to talk about it for long, but I just wanted to show.
Here's The Last of Us Part 2 running on PS5 Pro. It has huge amounts of detail and targets a super smooth 60 frames per second. Let's compare this to the fidelity mode on PS5, which is only running at 30 frames per second and is therefore much choppier. This goal of delivering...
Okay. So first off, let's just go back, okay? It doesn't look like much. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm looking at it, y'all looking at it, y'all looking at it, right? It doesn't look like much. It just looks like some blurry green grass. It doesn't look like that much of a difference if you're comparing the PS5 to the PS5 Pro in fidelity mode. Okay, and on top of that, you're using a game that hasn't actually, you know, Last of Us, that's a very old game. It's like, what, 5 years old? So you're kind of using an older game just to kind of show the capabilities of what it can do. I get that, but I mean, I got eyes and both eyes are looking at the picture and they don't make much difference. So like, I'm not trying to see exactly what he's trying to say. So let's go ahead and go to this one here.
My favorite is the parade scene from Ratchet and Clank. Distant details are much clearer.
Okay, show of hands. How many people cared about this image? Like, I haven't had a chance to finish playing Rift Apart, but I'm just saying, I don't really care with the pixels of the fans. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna go up there and talk to them. So if you can go up there and have a conversation with them, then you got me. But at that point, does it really matter? It's one of those interesting things, right? Because when you're looking at PS5s, okay, you're always trying to compare it with price point. It's like, okay, at what point in time is it just better just to get a computer? Because it's like, when you think about a PS5, it's like, okay, it's that middle ground, right? You hit that middle area, that $400 to $500 area. You go any higher, you're now in computer territory, just get a computer. You go any lower, you get a Switch or your cell phone or something, right? So it always kind of hit that middle ground. So you always have to look at it in terms of price point. But if this was a graphics card and we were talking about a PC, then this would be awesome, right? We're like, oh yeah, better graphics, yada, yada, yada. But even in PC areas, I'm like, okay, we're starting to get to an area where is there really a point, right? So when I look at that, I'm just like, it's not very impressive, right? It's not really showing me something where I'm just like, okay, this is just the best thing in the world. Here's my thought process, right? So if we look at it, there are 3 types of people, right, that would look at something like this. Okay, yes, I realize that I have chicken scratch. You don't have to rub it in, I know. So if you look at it, right, so there's just 3 type of people who would want a PS5, right? We have people who don't have a PS5 and don't have a PC, right? Those people there we'll look at, we'll investigate, we'll talk about. And there are others who are talking about why upgrade if I have a PS5? When you show me images like this, right? You're showing me this. I gotta tell you, if I'm playing Ratchet and Clank, I'm not looking at the fans. You know what I mean? I'm looking at the gameplay, what's happening, how to dodge, this and that. I don't really care about what's happening in the stands, right? So if you have that going on, then you're looking at, okay, why should I do this, right? Why should I upgrade from a PS5 to a PS5 Pro? And then you have the third group, okay? And this third group has the PS5, but wonders if a PC is a better value for their money. And for those guys, they're also looking at this and they're wondering, why on earth would I ever do something like this, right? Like, what's the point? Like, what am I getting out of this? It looks the same, right? This is the way I look at it, right? So if we go ahead and move on here, this is GameStop, right? This is the trade-in value for a regular PS5. This is the slim edition, of course, if you have the disc edition at like 20 bucks. at like $9. It is GameStop, okay? So let's not kid ourselves here. It's not really gonna give us a good price. So the Sony PlayStation 5 Slim console, you can get a store credit of $275, which is what we'll go by, because $275 is about what you would pay for a used PS5. And then you just buy the PS5 Pro from GameStop because it's also being released at GameStop. So if we take that number and we go back to our drawing, right? So if the PS5 Pro, right, is $700, and then the PS5 is $275. So we'll say about $300 if you buy it used, or you buy it off of, you know, Craigslist or something. So basically you're looking at a PS5 Pro for $400, right? So that's USD. You can convert it to whatever currency, but it's approximately about $400, right? So you're paying about $400 for that particular product when you already have a PS5. Now, we'll come back to that. But if we decided to use a computer instead of the PS5, or just keep our current PS5 and just buy a computer, then let's investigate that. The PS5 Pro, okay? When you think about exactly what kind of graphics card it has, well, the PS5 Pro is comparable to a 7800 XT. 7800 XT is comparable to a 6900 XT, which is a mid to high-end graphics card, okay? That's the best way to say it. It can run 1440p at a lot of titles, and it can run 4K 60 at a lot of titles. But on top of that, it's not gonna get you 4K 120. It's very hard for it to hit 4K 120 without going low to medium settings, depending on what kind of game you play. That's the kind of graphics card that they're putting in the PS5 Pro as opposed to what they had previously, which is like a 30% increase when it comes to graphics capability. I'll give you that, okay? So if you look at the processing of the PS5 Pro, so the PS5 Pro has a revised GPU with AMD CPU units, and then also, which is equivalent to a 7800 XT, we just talked about that, its CPU is closest to a 3700X. For those of you who aren't aware, a 3700X is a very mid to low mid kind of graphics processor. So that is very close to like what we would call a 5600G, which is basically a gaming process. So anything around that level is about the same. So if we take those components, right, knowing this, if we take the components of a 7800 XT and a 3700X and use that as of right now to try to build a computer, this is what we'll get. So I just decided to go ahead and build a computer using the same components. 7800 XT, which is what they have now. I will give you this. The 7800 XT, if you buy it as a discrete graphics card, is way stronger than using it on a PS5 Pro. So take that into consideration. We're talking about a full-blown 7800 XT with cooling and the whole nine. 7800 XT, and then for the graphics, or I'm sorry, for the CPU, we're talking about a 5600X, which is $134, give or take. I have a little combo on there. This is equivalent, if not a bit stronger, than the processor that you get with the PS5 Pro. So it's gonna be pretty comparable. And on top of that, the graphics will make up for the difference because this is a straight full-blown discrete graphics card versus one that's integrated onto the motherboard. So this computer here has a power supply, has 32 gigs of RAM, and on top of that, it has the 2TB NVMe, very akin to what the PS5 Pro has. And we're looking at $988. If you compare that to the price, which was $700 versus $988, you pay $288 more, and now you're looking at a full-blown PC. Why would you do that? It's so expensive. When it comes to comparing it to a PC, just get a PC. And it makes you wonder, right? Okay, well, what would you suggest in this kind of a situation? Well, I would look at it like this. If you are trying to buy the PS5 Pro and you have a PS5 and you're thinking about trading in that PS5 for it, then by all means, it's a pretty good upgrade, especially if you don't have a computer, okay? Now, if you don't really care about graphic fidelity and you play games like Cuphead or, you know, MMOs or RPGs, things that don't really matter when it comes to high fidelity or high frame rate, then it's really not that big of a deal to you unless you play like a shooter or something like that. So if you're playing shooters or Call of Duty, then yes, this will definitely help, right? Because it'll increase your frame rate and you can probably get around 120 frames per second at 1080 or 2K. It's possible, but you can get something like that, right? So if you are a gamer, then it's very, very good for you because as a gamer, you may have the ability to get that particular frame rate. So if you are looking to trade in your PS5, then I would say, okay, because you can probably get about $300 for your PS5 PS5, get the PS5 Pro, only pay a $400 difference. However, if you already have a PS5 and you're thinking about getting the PS5 Pro and you don't have a PC and you're thinking about a PC, bro, just get a PC. Oh my God, just get a PC, because you can literally get a PC for $300 more than the price of a PS5 Pro. So it's starting to get too close to the price of a computer at that particular price point. Just get a computer, especially if you already have a PS5, right? And then just use that and call it a day. And it comes with, what is this? Unknown Awakening and Warhammer Space Marine 2. So I mean, that's just money in the bank right there. So you got a lot of good stuff coming out with it, which is even better. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It's just like, why would you do it? You know, especially when you're so close to a PC, bro, just get a PC. And that's gonna do it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you really like it, go ahead and subscribe. I love you either way. Take care, all the best, and bye. I will see you next time. Peace.